Hi, I'm Andranik, and this is Vasilis Maragos, the EU ambassador in Armenia. Earlier in my career, for 4 or 5 years, I was part of the Young European Ambassador Network in Armenia, which helps to communicate about the EU with the Armenian citizens. And now we celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the network in Armenia. And we are chatting with the ambassador to find out a bit more about the network and how it has inspired the ambassador himself.
I'm very curious. What motivated you almost 10 years ago to join the network of the Young European Ambassadors? What was in your mind at the time?
I remember that I've been thinking about this question a lot and how I personally have benefited from lots of EU projects, and be it the Young European Ambassador, Erasmus, many youth projects. And I think I'm one of the first Armenian generations that actually grew up benefiting from these EU projects. I'm that generation that grew up listening about the EU a lot and about the EU values, and we had all of this in our heart, and we believed in this. And I think Young European Ambassador came at a point in my life where I was after the army, I was looking for opportunities. I wanted to learn more about the EU, and I wanted to be at the center of everything that was being implemented in Armenia. And I remember we visited Brussels. I remember we visited for the Eastern Partnership 10-year anniversary. It was really exciting, and meeting new people and being closer to the EU delegation. At that point, I wouldn't be able to imagine at one point in my life I would be working at the EU delegation. The network has inspired you throughout your career. I know that you are very supportive of this network. So why is this network so important for you?
It's a wonderful initiative. It gives opportunity to young people, first of all, to get to know each other. Second, to get to know more about the European Union, but also to get the skills to communicate with our own community. So the network is a link, is a magical link between people who participate in the network and the people who do not participate in the network. So it is something very important, very significant for me. It gives not only to me, but also to other colleagues, to other people who are involved in the European Union, the opportunity to engage with young people, not only in Armenia, but also in other parts of this region and in the European Union. I was very impressed recently when the network had brought a few young European ambassadors from several countries, from Europe, from Sweden, from Greece, from Spain. It was really an amazing experience, and I think it is opening doors and opportunities for all the people who participate in this network.
You used the word magical link. I think the ambassadors should start using this in their campaigns more. Throughout the past years, it's very intensive. The agenda includes many, many components. So what role do you think the young people play in this, and maybe the network plays in this?
It's a very important question. The relations between the European Union have expanded a lot in the past 2.5 years. We have now a strategic agenda. We have had the first summit. We are expanding in areas like connectivity, security, people-to-people contacts. A very important initiative is the visa liberalization dialogue. I think that the network can, first of all, plays already a very important role in the expansion of this agenda, because you have been the promoters of this framework, but also I think it can play an important role in making this agenda more known to the people, familiarizing the people with the concrete elements. And these concrete elements are elements which have to do with people. People can benefit by knowing more about what we are doing. So your work, the work of the network, is essential to get to know the agenda. But also I think the network and the communication with people can further be developed in order to shape this agenda in its implementation, but also in adding new elements. The most important element that I retained from the summit that we have had on the 5th of May in Yerevan was that we are talking about very concrete achievements, very concrete projects, but also we are talking a lot about links between people. So it is obvious that the young European ambassadors are going to play a very big role in that. And it is not only about transport, energy, digital, all these new areas of connectivity are going to be important, creating new opportunities, new interests. But we have to focus a lot on people-to-people contacts. And I think the network of the young European ambassadors can play a very crucial role in this. Expanding further, creating new events like the events that you have been creating in the past year or so. And I think that we can find even more concrete projects. Imagine, just to give you an example, the visa liberalization dialogue. The visa liberalization dialogue is a benchmark-driven process. It requires certain reforms to take place. This is important for the visa liberalization to reach its objective, which is for the people to travel from Armenia to the European Union without visas. But there are also a lot of elements of concrete reforms, of concrete communication, where I think the network can play a role.
And this concreteness, I think, is very important because sometimes when we speak about these difficult frameworks, difficult agendas, people don't necessarily understand what the EU means. And I remember when I joined the network, Young European Ambassador, my relatives would ask me all the time, my friends, what it means. And you also get the opportunity to explain to them what the EU means and what the EU does in Armenia. And you know, it expands. It expands the people that are involved because it's not only the ambassadors, it's also their friends and their families.
Absolutely. I will give my personal, opinion about this. I think that what the European Union does anywhere, in Europe, in Armenia, in all the partner countries, is shaped by the people. These people are not only the officials, are not only the politicians. These people are the citizens. And I think the young European ambassadors can explain this to everybody. I think through citizen participation, we can achieve more together. This is democracy. Elections are important because this is the moment when the citizens take back power. But it is very important as well, equally important, that the citizens are active in the civil society, in their local communities, in addressing local issues, in demanding from the politicians, a certain agenda, in participating in dialogues. Dialogue brings us closer. And why? Because it is not only that we speak, it is also that we listen. This is what the dialogue is about. As you know, I come from Greece. It's a country, by the way, which has very long and very strong links with Armenia. But it is very important to remember that dialogue came from Greece. It is a Greek word. It has been translated beautifully into Armenian. But it is also very important to think that dialogue is composed of two words. Logos, which means speech, but also in between, dia. In Armenian, you have translated it with yerku, which means two. But it is not only two; it's a bigger effort. And I really believe that this is what can be the added value also of your network. It is the dialogue between people with different backgrounds who get to know each other and they support each other.
This is really beautiful. And we all love Greece so much here in Armenia.
I think everybody in Greece loves Armenia.
But what I'm hearing is that the initiative gives power to people, power to be engaged in politics or to believe in change. You spoke a lot about the people-to-people contacts, but I also wonder how this initiative, or maybe also other initiatives, help the EU citizens to learn more about Armenia. It's also a dialogue, right? It has to be a two-way street.
Armenia has always been in the heart of Europe because you represent an old Christian, very important European civilization. Actually at the crossroads between Europe, Asia, Middle East, and the civilizations have always circulated through this region. Our current endeavors to bring more connectivity to Armenia will also make Armenia much more known. Everybody now in Europe knows about Armenia. People who are not specialists who are not specialists in geography or in politics. They call me and they ask, what is happening in Armenia? Why all these people are coming to Armenia? So I really believe that that was a huge success for Armenia, for the Armenian people, and it will also bring much more tourist interest in Armenia. And as you know, most of the tourism in Armenia is cultural tourism, is specialized tourism, is tourism which is quality based, and it is tourism which makes Armenia much better known in Europe.
Absolutely. And I think culture is probably one of the biggest strengths of small states such as Armenia, and that's how we want to present ourselves to the world as well, with the rich Armenian culture that we are so proud of. And dance, music, everything plays a huge role in people-to-people contacts as well, and how people see and perceive Armenians. What do you think? How culture shapes this perception?
Culture, you're right. Culture brings us closer together. Culture is what gives us identity, but also it creates opportunities. Opportunities for economic development, opportunities for branding, opportunities to be proud of something. I think this is really essential. I believe in this cooperation. We have launched a cultural policy dialogue. We have launched a roadmap for cultural cooperation with Armenia. This is something which is unique. We don't do it with all the countries in the world. And I believe that in the area of culture, in many fields actually under culture, Armenia is already in the heart of Europe. And it is an area where, of course, reforms are always useful, more administrative capacity. But I think that the creativity of the Armenian people, the artistic creation, is really something exceptional in Armenia, which makes this place so unique. And what do you think about this network? How can the network be used in the future in a way which would benefit the participants, but also the people who are not the participants? Because that's the most important thing about our projects. We should not only think about ourselves who participate in a project, but also the others who are with who we are in touch.
I think the most important thing about this initiative is its geography. Everything in Armenia is very much centralized in Yerevan. But the network goes beyond the capital. It goes to the regions. It talks to the local communities, to the young people that do not necessarily have the same opportunities that we have in Yerevan. So I think this is the strength. And unfortunately, here in Armenia, as elsewhere in the world, we see lots of disinformation, what the EU is and what it promotes in Armenia and how important those things are. And the initiative helps to communicate in a more lively, grounded way, not how the politicians would do it, but the way they communicate is more understandable, and they actually take lots of action that helps people to understand what the EU is.
Yeah. One of my favorite projects of the Young European Ambassadors Network here in Armenia has been our training, the training that the Young European Ambassadors have done to young people about media literacy. And it was not only once. We have done it, I think, several times, very concrete training. What do you think about media literacy? How can we make young people, and actually not so young people, aware of how the media work, how can they read the media, and how much the young people are receptive to this kind of trainings, initiatives, and what else needs to be done in order to, if you like, create opportunities for education of the citizens or the future citizens, the younger people.
I think you, in a sort of, answered the question in your question, because you mentioned a lot the word education, and this is what everything comes down to. Though it's a very long-term effort to educate people, but there needs to be lots of effort in this regard, and the initiative does a lot. But also, I know that the Armenian government is doing a lot in regards to the media literacy trainings, the civil society in Armenia. I think one of the, and I worked in this sphere a bit, one of the most successful and strong tools would be to actually reach the teachers, because they are in these local small Armenian communities. teachers are probably the most influential figures. The community listens to them, the community respects them, and if you educate the teachers, if you go and talk to them, and then they spread the word to everyone in their community. So I think teachers should probably be one of the first stakeholders in this regard.
Excellent idea, Andranik. Now that you work in the European Union delegation, probably we can work together to implement
We should do something.
this excellent idea. I fully agree with you. Now imagine for one moment that you don't work for the European Union and you are still the young European ambassador that you were 10 years ago. With your experience now, is there something else that you would do? Is there something that you expect the European Union to do for the young people in Armenia? What would be your wildest dream?
My wildest dream. This is a very, very tough question. I have to think about it. I think, okay, I'm going to give a very actually simple answer because this was so much discussed among young people and still is so much discussed, and everyone, actually when the EU-Armenia summit was happening, all the young people, my cousins, nephews around me, they were actually asking me, the first thing was the visa liberalization.
Okay.
Everyone is really excited about it and expecting it to happen, and I'm really glad. And I remember back then when we would meet the EU ambassador, that was the first question that everyone would ask about the visa liberalization. And I think seeing now that the concrete steps are being taken in that direction, seeing the EPC happening in Armenia, EU summit happening in Armenia, I think some of my wildest dreams are actually already being implemented.
It is fantastic and amazing to see that we are already doing something about your wildest dream. So you have to think about your next dream.
Yeah, dream big all the time. Thank you, dear ambassador. I think also people passing by are greeting us, saying nice words. I think it also shows how high the EU is for Armenians as well, this EU agenda and the EU-Armenia cooperation. Hi everyone, we are joined by another alumni from the Young European Ambassadors Initiative, Mane.
Hi everyone, I am Mane and I have been working at the European Union delegation for already 2 years. But do you know what? This is me in 2019, in my first ever Europe Day as Young European Ambassador. But here we are to ask the ambassador some blitz questions. So the first one, dear ambassador, what is your favorite food, Armenian food?
This is a very difficult question. All the food in Armenia is so nice, so tasty. I like tolma, I like horovats, I like zingalov khats, I like hash. Don't tell anybody. And what about gata, And what about lavash?
Would you join the network if you were 18?
I would love to join the network and I would love to be 18. This is a very tempting question. It's an amazing network that we're very lucky to be part of it.
What about inspiration? Was there anything that inspired you about the network, from the network?
What I really like is that you have people who come from all the parts of Armenia and they bring their own specific interests, their own community angle. For instance, we have people from Shunik, we have people from Tavush, we have people from Armavir, Aparan, from Gyumri, a very, very important place in Armenia. And all these people talking to each other create, I think, a more beautiful, more resilient Armenia and make it even more European than it is. Because in reality, Europe is what we build ourselves. And this is precisely what this network is bringing, this ownership by the young people.
Was there something that you learned from the network?
What I have learned is that you shape life. It is up to you to do things. It is up to you to strengthen what you want. And this is precisely, it is this creativity, this creative spirit, which has brought about the European Union and which is now bringing about this strengthening of relations between the European Union and Armenia. It is because we want to do something and because we are dialoguing with each other. So the network has made, I think, a huge contribution to this by bringing about issues, by promoting, but by also bringing the energy which will allow us to implement them.
And if you were to describe the network with one single word, which word would you use?
Give me three words. Magical link, creativity and inspiration.
Is there one word that you would use to describe Armenia's place in Europe?
Armenia is unique, wonderful people. It's really beauty in itself. So for me, it is a big source of inspiration, and I feel really proud to be in Armenia, representing Europe in Armenia, but also representing Armenia in Europe, because to a great extent, this is precisely what I'm doing.
Thank you, dear ambassador.
Thank you a lot, dear ambassador.
Thank you.